the truth about why I think I'm actually so miserable at the moment, because there's something that I know deep down, and I want to tell you guys about this because before you make big decisions in life, right, it's important to take stock of everything and really sit and think about the consequences of the choice you're going to make. You guys have heard me say so many times that, I hate having free will because I feel like I make decisions that I then regret. And a lot of the decisions that I've made, I'm now regretting as we speak, and henceforth why I've been so just this year especially has just hit harder and harder and harder and harder negatively, for those reasons. You know what I mean? So it's important to really think and take stock before you make big decisions, and that's essentially what led me to where I am now. And I'm kind of just gonna have to just address the elephant in the room, because the elephant in the room is this, you guys. I know that the person who I naturally am, it's going to cost a lot from me in this life, because obviously I'm a fighter of justice. I care about justice for everybody in a world that is unjust. I am, outspoken in a world where people are silenced by all these social contracts. Like, these are the things I've been thinking about this year. Like, there's just so many things in society that's just done a certain way, like just little things. And I'm like, I don't know where I was. Like, where was I when everybody was being given the rule book? Like, and it'll be the little things. Like, I'll give you guys an example of one thing that I said before, that people say that, if you're like at dinner with somebody and you turn your phone downwards, it's because you got something to hide. I'm like, I do that all the time. I do it because I'll get distracted and I'm locked in, focused on the person that I'm talking to, and I want to give them my full attention. I don't want to be distracted by notifications. And can I just say, it really irritates me when I'm talking with somebody and they get distracted by their notifications. And I'm like, where's your self-control? Like, just come back to that later. Unless, obviously, if you want to quickly check if it's important. But if you're like, I just need to get back to this, and it's just a load of nothing, and we're in the midst of having a serious conversation. Like, do you guys see where I'm going with all of this? And so, because of the way that my life has been, I didn't really ever stop to think very much about the things that I want for myself in this life. I thought a lot about what I need to do in this life. So how am I useful? But I've not really thought so much about like who I want to be, like what I want to give to myself, I guess. And that's when I started to learn all of these things that I do that are just so counter, like, cultural and just counter norm. Like, right now, I'm literally just wearing this thin shirt, the window is open, it's a winter's night, and I'm burning steaming hot while I'm here drinking my lemon water, which has ice in it. I'm burning steaming hot. I was literally when I went to see Wicked, I was in the cinema. I walked to the cinema on a cold winter's night in a crop top and shorts, and I sat in the cinema. I was burning hot, even though I was drinking a slushie, So I love the cold, right? Because I'm a fiery person. That's where I believe it comes from. I'm a fiery, passionate person. And so the heat just doesn't die down ever. It just exudes straight out of me, And I also believe part of that is obviously my relationship with the Holy Spirit, which, as we've established, a lot of Christian folks today don't seem to really be engaging with the Holy Spirit. And that's one of my other things that makes me just feel like an alien. Like, I literally feel like an alien. Like, not even like an outsider, like an alien. Like, I feel like I've been dropped off at the wrong planet. That's how I feel, So I know that the way I am, the fact that I just talk, I never really thought so much, right, about why a lot of things were happening. That's why I'm now processing so much stuff in one go, because I would always accept certain things, but I wouldn't think about the why. So I'd always accepted that, like, People find me uncomfortable to be. It's either that you love it and you want to just hop on the ride, or you get uncomfortable. And the thing about me as well is I don't hold back in getting deep. I'm not even as deep as I would be on YouTube about a lot of topics. I'm trying my best now. I'm pushing myself constantly. And today I'm going to really say some things I want to say about a lot of things in the world, and it's going to get hella deep. And again, I realize people like to be superficial, have surface level conversation. So that's another thing that I never really thought about it. Why are people so uncomfortable? Because in their mind, they're like, can we just stick to like talking about the weather and whatever? I'm like, no, I want to know what's going on in your life. I want to know how you're doing. How is work? Tell me about what happened at work in detail. I want to hear your whole exact work day. What happened? How did you feel about that? You know, I want to get deep. I want to like understand you. I want to step into your world. I want to step into your mind. Like that's how I feel about me and getting to know people. So I've figured out that, unfortunately, I don't know, in my experience, because I can see that some people have experienced it, I find a lot of just interactions with people superficial. And for me, it's like if I'm going to do something superficial just for the sake of it, unless it's like the type of relationship where we have all levels, I'd rather just be by myself, because I can really utilize like my time alone to really think, right? And to really make sure that the decisions I'm making and the people that I'm around and the things that I'm doing, that I'm willing to take the consequences of the decisions that I'm going to make, you know? And that's one thing that I have to say, that being forced into hell, back into hell as I would put it, has taught me, is that at so many points in my life, I wasn't taking enough time. To be honest, I didn't really have the time. Okay, I was one of those people, and I used to be, but deep down I'm not. But I was always one of those people where I knew I had a lot of things going on inside of me, like a lot of issues, but I felt like, and because I've never felt truly safe, like for at least not for a long time, I feel like I can't release any of my emotions or process anything. I need to just distract myself. So I distract myself with winning. At least if I'm winning, I'm succeeding, I've got accolades, I've got stories to tell. I can say that I'm doing something, because I don't feel like I have the space to break down, because like, and that's what I'm experiencing now, why I became miserable this year as well, is now that I'm processing more things and I still don't feel like I'm in the right space to do it, and I mean that both mentally and physically, like literally, then it's taking a toll on me, because I'm trying to like only allow out enough that if I really go there and and it gets dark, like I know that like I need to be able to make sure I can recover myself back out of that. You know what I'm saying? And this is where I believe that God has allowed me to get pushed to this, so that I don't do that, so that I'll allow him to do that, you know, essentially to help like yank me out of it. Because I'm like, God, I don't know what's going to happen if I allow everything that I've experienced and everything that I've like seen and everything that I know. I don't know what's going to happen if I allow it to like fully hit me. Like, gosh, this is what I'm saying, I'm so deep in thinking, I just can't, it's just who I am. It's just who I am. It's not like a negativity trait. It's who I am. Like I said, I care about things. I care about people. I care about this world. I care about the things going on. And for me, I care to a point where I can't physically just ignore it, because for me, that's not in my in the DNA of my soul. And it never has been. I've always been somebody where if I see something and I feel like there's an injustice of any sort, I'm stepping in. And honestly, it happens naturally. I don't even try. It just happens. And I just find myself like, how did we get here? Like, how did we get here? Like, I don't know how it happens, but it does, right? And then because it's just the things that you just do, you know, like at a certain point you realize as a person you just do things. Like I'm not somebody who can work I can't just sit. I have to have, for the sake of my mental health, I need physical activity. I need to be moving my body at least 2 to 4 hours a day. It has to happen. it has to happen because I've realized that's another thing that I can't not do. And then that's why I'm one of the reasons why I'm suffering, and I'm basically just learning all these things about myself and realizing that if I really just fully express myself more, like the things I've discovered, because I remember, like, if you were to ask me when I first moved out, like, what's your favorite food, I wouldn't know. What's your favorite color, like, what, like, picking out, think of an outfit that you would wear that you feel like demonstrates your personality. I didn't know, because I was a shell of myself. I didn't know, like, and I remember as soon as I moved out, I felt like I have no idea who I am. I have no idea who I am. So I just went through a lot of things and I learned a lot of stuff from what people told me. And that's where the other issue came in, because I've had so much positive. I started out with so many negatives, right? Hearing a lot of negatives, or just, it's not even necessarily critique as much as it's the tension of me being the way that I am. That, like, when I moved out, I would meet all these incredible folks. And obviously, the one thing we all have in common is when none of us are living like the average individual, because we're all doing these different things, right? So I would get such lovely comments from, like, people that I'm just like, from people with some form of status, right? Could be money, could be power, could be fame. And they would just say, I would just getting these compliments, and it still happens now. And so I'm like, which is it? Am I the problem? I need to figure everything out and whatever, or am I, like, and then I realized that I don't think I ever, like, I realized that wanting to become a dance teacher and thinking that that was the ceiling of my capability was such small thinking. And what in the world was the reason why I had such a low standard of what I believed I was capable of achieving? These are the questions I've been asking myself, because the real truth scare that I have deep down, and it's the reason that I don't want to I really am just struggling with what it might take for me to, like, do what I need to do in this life, is what if, like, how big could it go? Is what I'm saying. Because I'm thinking to myself, if I've done everything I've done in the midst of all the things that were happening along the way, what was I going to be? And at the same time, I've limited myself, right? What would I have done, or what will I do if that's removed, the things that I'm putting up with, and I take the lid off the ceiling? And that is what is freaking me out, you guys. I'll be so honest, because I be saying to the Lord, I'm like, God, I'm so nervous. I'm scared. Like, there's certain things that technically I could be doing that I'm not doing. And it's not any one thing. It's the fact that they all just, I can see the picture. I guess what I'm saying is I'm starting to see the picture more and more of what the ceiling looks like. And I'm like, if I really, like, because I'm scared to give my everything, basically, is what I'm saying. I'm really scared. I'm really, 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 really scared of doing that, because what is it going to cost me? And I'm always thinking about the cost of things, like the cost of my actions, just costs in general, because you guys know I hate money and stuff. But so I'm like, what's going to be the cost? Like, how many, like, the emotional costs of relationships, emotional costs of pushing myself. I mean, right now I'm paying a huge emotional cost for a decision that I made that I realized I probably shouldn't have made, and I kind of knew deep down that maybe I was making the wrong decision by starting at this job. But I feel like it's one of those situations, and it happens all the time. This is why, God, he's amazing. He takes things that he knows what we're going to do, so he has a plan of how our decision that we make, even if it's not necessarily what he wanted us to do, that decision is going to lead to ultimately to where he wants you to be anyway. And so I feel that for me, the reason why I got this job, right, is I panicked. That's exactly what happened. I panicked. I was like, what if things don't work out well with my job? I started to see that, like, the way I'm going to have to go about this education thing is looking a bit crazy. So I basically did it as my own little safety blanket, right? not realizing that it was going to push me even further to realizing that what I needed to do or need to do really needs to be done, right? And that, again, as I already knew, the system is redundant. The system is waste, a complete waste. So all that emotional stress I've had from that job this year is I put onto myself. And this is what I'm saying about free will. Because I panicked because it was like a January, and and it always gets like this every year. See how it's happening again. Comes up to January, I'm like, God, I surrender completely because I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But I'm just shutting everything down. Either I shut everything down or God shuts everything down, because that's also what happened last year. So I'm like, and it's like this year, it's like played on repeat of last year in so many ways, but also not in so many other ways. And it's because I feel like this year I've tried to hone in on tuning into not just like being obedient, but like being rather than just like playing the game, because I can play a game, I can do things without having to have my heart having to be in it if I think that there's a reason why it makes sense. So like for me, for example, I'll be really honest, a lot of the things that I do, I don't really do them out of the depths of my heart. That's the one thing I've realized now. I do them because it just makes sense at the moment. And so my heart's not really in things. And I'm realizing now that the things my heart is in is going to cost me to use my heart. Another recipe for chaos. Another recipe for chaos. Like, because if I was to tell you guys how I feel, like, and I feel so strongly about so many things, and I'm like, I know I can do it. That's the thing. That's the even scarier. The scarier part is the fact that I know I can do it. But what I'm afraid of right now is if I like fully commit, right, to just everything. And when I say everything, there's like lots of little, I feel like right now in my life, there's lots of little new seeds of a new season that have been planted, many of them. And that's why I'm saying it's getting scary. And I'm like, why is this happening? And why is that happening? And why is that happening? And why is that happening? And that. And so I'm looking at this forest that's about to exist someday, right? And I'm thinking, this is overwhelming. And do you know what the crux of it is? It's because I never really considered that I was going to enjoy my existence. I had given up the idea of enjoying existence. I was like, I'll just come and do my job. Like I told you guys, I'll just come and do my job. I'll do my little 90 years or whatever I have. I'll do my shift and I'll go and enjoy myself after I die. That's how I felt. And that has been the like thing that God has been breaking out of me. He's like, no, enjoy now as well. Like, enjoy now. What would it take for you to enjoy now? Like, what would you want to do? What would like be enjoyable for you right now? And then I'm like, I don't know, winter holiday would be great. I want to go somewhere and I want to get frostbitten. I want to get frostbitten. I want to go ice fishing. I want to, I keep talking about ice fishing because I want to do it so badly, right? I want to, I don't know. I really like to do that I would enjoy is triathlon one day. I'd really love to have the mental capacity to train for an Ironman, because I feel like I have the capabilities if I put my head down for like a couple of years and I set myself a proper schedule. I feel like I've got the capabilities to do an Ironman. Like, so I've been thinking, this is what I'm saying, I've been starting to think about these things and I'm like, oh, I'd like to do this and I'd like to do this and actually I'd like to do that. And so now I'm dealing with the chaos of, this is a situation I hadn't prepared for. The situation where life is enjoyable. The situation where I'm happy to be here. I hadn't prepared for that option, okay? Because I always felt like I was doomed. Like this was all a doom and I was doomed from the beginning. So yeah, so I'm just like, if I have to be honest and know that I'm somewhat self-sabotaging at the moment. I am. And the thing is, it's not really on purpose because I don't know what else to do. This is what I'm saying. I don't know what else to do. So it's like, I was having this conversation with my friend, and we were saying how people will tell you about how good something can be, but you won't know you don't know what that good thing is if you've never experienced it. So it doesn't matter how many times somebody tells you, you won't actually get how it works until you do it. So for example, I'll give you guys an example of Korean barbecue, because that's my favorite food, by the way. Korean barbecue is my favorite, right? And so I'd seen all these videos, I'd seen all these different types of places and everything. Didn't believe I didn't know it was gonna become my favorite food, did I? And my favorite food's probably gonna change again because there's so many cuisines I haven't tried. But anyway, so I've seen it so many times and it looked good in concept, but I didn't know what the experience was to have all the little banchan on the table and what kimchi tasted like and what tteokbokki tasted like, or what else is there that I like? The John, like the shrimp or whatever John. I love those. I didn't know what it was going to taste when they say beef bulgogi. What does that taste like? I didn't expect that it was going to be a little bit sweet. I didn't know what it was going to be like to have the experience of the tiny little mini barbecue in front of you where you just fry off everything that you want. I didn't know a lot of things. I didn't know what these things tasted like. I didn't know what the experience felt like. I didn't know what it would feel like to have something burning in front of you inside a restaurant and what it would sound like. I didn't know what was the other things, like, I didn't know. And so this is why I don't really like to talk about my problems a lot with anyone, because I feel like people are trying to tell me about something and tell me to do something that I don't have I don't have the knowledge to know how to do. It's like I don't know how to have the knowledge to look at life and want things for myself. I don't even know what's reasonable to ask for myself. I don't know. I never thought about it, really. I never did. So now I'm in a position where I'm like, all these new things that have to get done, these new things that are happening, I don't know how to be a good friend. I've been a bad friend, if anything, or I've been blind to bad friends. It's either been one of the two, right? And I have had some good friends along the way, but then I was a bad friend, like I said, to a lot of them. So I'm like, how do I know? I don't know how. Like, I don't even know how. Like, how am I going to be a good friend? How, if I set up my business, how am I going to do it? I don't even know where to start from. Like, I don't even know if I want it to be like an official business because I feel like that's not right. Like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know how. I don't know what in a conversation in society is a reasonable amount of deepness, because I'm not offended by anything that people say, and I wouldn't be offended if someone says, I don't really want to talk about that. Okay, cool. But the thing is, people don't. They just kind of get uncomfortable and then just don't ever tell you anything. And this is what I'm saying about, like, there's so many things I don't understand, and I feel like it's always just silence back at me of, I need people to communicate to me clearly in plain English exactly what they do, or do what they want or they don't want, or what they are or not willing of doing. Not going around the houses, not doing all of this, because I, as a person, am very much, because of I am how I am, I know that it's possible. So I don't like to have to be doing algebra to get to understand what it is you're trying to say. Just say it. And that's, again, what I've realized, because I just say things, because my personality, I've always been like that. And because I've always been around quiet people and no one's saying back to me that whatever, it's just normal for me. I just do it. So it's not like I'm trying to offend anyone. So I don't know, unless it's being communicated to me clearly, what I think a lot of people think I know. Even you guys, I think about this all the time. Like, I wonder how many things that the winning team members think I understand about myself that I don't. Because you're there observing and you're there listening and you're there maybe knowing, having a different perspective. So it's like, for me, all of this is just a recipe for chaos, partnered alongside the lifelong exhaustion of just go, 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 go. Because I feel like if I stop, it's not going to be pretty. I'm going to be feeling dark and I'm going to be feeling, so I got to keep going. I just got to keep running. I got to keep running. And that's why I'm burnt out. So I'm exhausted and burnt out entirely, and also fed up at the exact moment that all these new little seeds start popping up of this new forest, of this new life of mine that the Lord is creating. And I also don't even know how to tend to this garden whatsoever. I don't even know how to tend to this garden whatsoever. Yeah. So, and I'm looking at the vastness of this garden and what's happening, and I'm seeing things come together. And you know, the scariest part is that I know that that it's almost like, it's like literally, basically, it's like I didn't know that I had a dream life, but now I know I have one, and now I'm seeing the seeds of it happening. So now I'm just like, oh, I don't know how to handle this, and I'm scared of ruining it for myself. I'm scared of not knowing. Like I said, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and I don't know. I just really had to. I'm really glad I'm talking, because it's actually helping. I always am swallowing so loudly on camera, and it's because I'm trying so hard not to swallow loudly on camera, even though I don't normally do it. Anyway, so yeah, there's so many things, and I'm just like overwhelmed, and then because it's all so overwhelming, everybody's overwhelmed by me. So I'm like, great. I feel like it's just overwhelming. I'm just overwhelming, and I don't know what to tell you. So that's where we're at with all of those things. I'm just trying to really think about, like, I can't just walk into a situation completely blindly. And if that's what the Lord is asking me to do, listen, Jesus is going to have to show up, and he's going to have to hold my hand. Jesus Christ himself. And I mean that because I believe he will do it, right? Because I don't know. I ain't never been here before. I ain't got the map for this situation. I ain't got the directions. I don't know what to do. Because, and again, this is where my intelligence works against me, because I'd be thinking. Like, I was trying to think the other day, how do I act? What would I do instead of thinking? Like, cause I realize that a lot of people don't think, right? Whereas I'm a hyper thinker. So like me here, while I've been miserable, right? I'll tell you what I've done for the last week. Yeah, the last couple of days. The last couple of days I took off work because I've been feeling unwell, as I said. All I have done, and all I've had the capabilities of doing, literally, I lay under my duvet, I listen to music, and I think for hours. I mean, like 20 hours. Because I'll maybe sleep like 4 hours. Probably not. And if I'm not at work, I'm not seeing anyone, and I've not even clicked on WhatsApp and like a lot of social media, because it's overwhelming. Like I said, all these things I have to do, all these people I need to get back to. I'm glad about it, but I'm overwhelmed. You see? So I just sit there thinking. And I was like, it got to the point where, thank God I went to see Wicked, because I can't think about anything else. Nothing else right now, because I feel so just like I need to see the exit route right now. I need to find it. So all I do is think. Because if I don't think, what else happens? Time just goes on, and I'm still in the position I'm in. So I need to, and I probably don't. I probably need to, but then I'm like, what else would I do though? Like, what do people do when they're not thinking? How do people not think? Because people do it. Like I said, I've learned this in society, that a lot of people, they don't think. That's why a lot of people struggle with a lot of things, because they just never really thought. Maybe because they didn't have to, because they were just told. Obviously, that's the other problem with me, is I don't like to follow rules that don't make sense to me. So when people tell me to do things, I'm like, where is your credentials for giving me this information? Because if it's just coming from the state of your life isn't the life I want to live. So I don't want to take advice from you. Respectfully. Right? If you're just following along what people do just because what people do, I don't want to do that. I've seen the world. That's what I'm saying. Even outside myself, I've seen a lot of the world, and I don't want to live like the world. So a lot of things that people tell me to do, I'm like, I ain't doing that. You haven't shown me. So I had to say to the Lord, I'm like, God, you got to show me show me like I'm missing out and what's missing, because that's the other problem, is like realizing, especially this year, that so the world is so overwhelmingly broken. Like the problem came when I solved the problem of where we all went wrong as a humanity, because that was my thing. I'm seeing so many things in so many areas, in literally every area of our life, every single area of your life, whether it's work, whether it's I don't know, entertainment, whatever you do to entertain yourself, whether it's, I don't know, mental health, whether it's personal relationships of all levels. I'm looking at everything, whether it's the food, whether it's the state of our health, our physical health, whether it's the state of the world itself and the ecosystem, whether it's, all these things. I'm looking at everything and I'm thinking, some things have had to have happened that have led for the horrific state that we're in. Because the truth is, and this is why when people try to just blindly encourage me to feel better, I'm like, no, because we're not solving problems, they're getting worse, right? Everything and everywhere, we are constantly living off of the poor use of free will, of us all collectively. Because how did my life get to be like this, and your life and everybody else's lives? It all ended up like this from our joint usage of our free will in all of history. That's what happened. It all happened with our joint use of free will. Of course, I have my personal accountability that I have to take. That's another thing that's lacking in society. Everybody's waiting on somebody else, that person. We need more people like this. We need more people like that. When are people going to internalize that into themselves and say, I need to become this kind of person. I need to be the one to step in? Because so many times I'll find myself in situations, and this is one of those characteristics about myself that I'm like, this is why I'm kind of like, Lord, let's just not do this, right? Because this is what I don't want. I'm tired of being in situations where there's a clear issue. It's like, I'll use an example to make it easy for you, for just to visualize the concept of what I'm trying to say. I've been in so many situations where there's like an issue, there's like a joint issue. So maybe let's say, I don't know, I don't know, a fire has started, let's say, in an office. But it's manageable as long as somebody grabs the fire extinguisher and extinguishes it. It is bigger than normal, just any old fire. But then I feel like my viewpoint on the world is like, there'll be 100 of us in the room as this is happening. And why am I the only one going to get the fire extinguisher? Why am I the only one with ideas? Why am I the only one here thinking on my feet what we're going to do? Because that's what I'm sick of. This is what I'm saying. I don't want to be doing this again. I don't want to be in so many situations where I'm looking back and forth and people are just waiting for somebody else, me, to do something. Because that's what I feel like is the story of my life. I'm like, when are the people going to show up? I feel like I'm standing at like in a spiritual sense, I feel like I'm standing at the front line, in the spiritual battle. And I'm looking left, I'm looking right, and I'm like, why do I not see anybody standing next to me? Until obviously I met you guys and whatnot. I'm talking about the real issues, because at the end of the day, this is what I'm trying to say. We can all talk about things like diet to our teeth and try and figure out what's the perfect diet, what's the perfect supplements. We can talk about mental health and the importance of rest and the importance of this and all of this. We can talk about, health, safe work environments and this, that, and the other. We can talk about what's appropriate in the entertainment industry and yada, yada, yada. But the overall problem that started everything is that we utilized our free will poorly, and we continued to do so because that's what the story of the Bible tells me. God created everything, it was perfect. He said, follow me. He said, if you eat from the tree of life, there's the tree of life and there's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So for me, I'm like, I'm looking at a world that's not very smart. Because if we're these apex predators. We these adults who, like, this is why I see the little things in this world really upsets me. Like the fact that, obesity is such an issue. What a privilege. What a privileged problem to have, to struggle to stay in shape. This countries is, and a lot of this stuff is because of growing up in the West, I must say, because in a lot of countries these things don't run. These things don't run because you have to be able to run, brother, because there could be a war happening at any old time. And our prime ministers and presidents who lie through their teeth saying that, not telling you where they're sending all these people in our armies to, in the military, that's the word I was looking for, the military, are out there knowing the truths that I'm talking about. And how do we treat those people in society? Exactly, we don't. And a lot of them end up homeless. A lot of them end up, severe PTSD, amputees. They've seen things in the rest of the world, right? But then they're the ones fighting for the country. It's backwards, isn't it? It's backwards. And that's another reason why I'm like, I like to isolate myself, because I'm like, I can't imagine what it's like to be in the military. And I have so much respect for anybody who's chosen to do that, to serve their country. But what I do know the feeling of is when you've seen some traumatic events or experienced things, and then you return to the quote unquote rest of the world that like says that they're grateful for what you do, but then doesn't even have your back in any way, shape, and form. Why would I step up, basically? Why would I? Why would I if I know I'm gonna have to deal with everything between me, God, and the Holy Spirit, and my handlers, the angels, God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit? Because I'm sick of people telling me, and this is one thing that I've decided this year, I'm sick of people telling me that I care too much. I'm going to start telling people, you don't care enough. You don't care enough. Because if you cared enough, you would be thinking, like I am, about how do I best utilize my free will for the sake of myself and for the sake of others. What is it that I'm going to be able to say in history, like when I go to see the Lord? And it's not even about proving anything, by the way, but it's like, if we have one, like people say we've got one life to live. I'm like, so if you've got one life to live, is the greatest thing you can do not leave some kind of an impact that doesn't have to be huge, like I said, but something that continues, like the that has reduced a level of entropy in existence, right? So when I say that, I mean, if you, I don't know, let's say you like to bake cookies. If you bake cookies and you always baking cookies for people and everybody knows you're the one who bakes cookies, have you not, all those people whose days you've made, all those people that you've cheered up, all those people that you've given a nice treat or made feel seen or cared about or supported or whatever, thought about, all those people, that actual action of giving them those cookies seems small and it seems insignificant, like not that big of a deal, right? But to them, that might be the one thing to get them through. That might be the thing they look forward to at work, that actually means that they feel better at work. So then when they're at work and they feel a bit better because they're looking forward to their cookie, they're working a bit better. And then they're getting promoted now because, I don't know, they just worked really well that day, and it just happened to be when they were deciding who's going to get promoted next. So your one small action of the cookie, right, which seems like a small action in the moment, is actually an action that is going to affect, and then again, whoever that person then goes to see, and their increased mood and how they might impact somebody. They might bring somebody one of the cookies. They might bring the cookies. Now you've added an impact of brightening up the day of 20 people randomly, all because you decided to bake some cookies. And it seems at the time like baking those cookies, right, wasn't that big of a deal. But in actuality, those cookies, you were contributing to working against entropy in the universe. You were adding to the fight for humanity as a whole. So that's why I say that all these things that I'm thinking about, and when I'm trying to make all these decisions, like about my own life right now, I'm like, I feel exhausted because I feel that there's not enough people are not doing enough as a society. Our lives and living, and even what people consider enjoying life, it's gone to a degree past just like doing things that you like and living a life that you enjoy, to living a selfish life. And that's my greatest fear as well, is I don't want to become a self-absorbed individual. I don't want to become somebody that can never do something unless it's absolutely 100% convenient. I think it would be so good for those people, those of us in the West. Some people, you need to test your relationships by you going and taking all of you into certain situations. Things like, this is why I like Squid Game. I'm glad it's coming back. That's going to be a good watch this winter, right? You need to go and see what happens if you lose your job. Now, because you can't afford to go out for dinners anymore, who was your best friend yesterday isn't your friend tomorrow? What about if, people that go through extreme accidents, somebody that was your supportive family member yesterday isn't there for you tomorrow? Like I said, we do all this stuff where we have all these events, and these are why I don't want to participate in a lot of the world's way of doing things. We have all these events, baby showers, weddings, baptisms, all sorts, right? But you're supposed to, if you're at a baby shower, and the whole reason why we came together for these events, and we're there when people we're there as an acknowledgement that we are going to be part of the village that's supporting this. So if you're not going to be there for your friend when maybe they just need a phone call, because in the middle of the night, because something happened, with them and their spouse, why are you, if you're not prepared to do anything that's inconvenient, right? Because love is inconvenient. Think about the life of Jesus. This is why I think so much about Jesus, because I just think this guy, just his life was full of inconvenience. Everything was inconvenient, because for him, he's going to heaven anyway. His whole being here is inconvenient. He was chilling in heaven. Can you imagine that? Jesus was chilling in heaven and he had to come down because of us. So, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to participate in the things of this world in the way that the world works that I'm seeing, because for me, it's like everything is just a big play, and everybody's just, doing things from a self-serving perspective. And then we're wondering why we have to do these things like outsourcing somebody to talk to in therapy, and taking all this new thing of all these different diets, and what's the right diet, and what's this and what's that, because you haven't done your due diligence and done your research for yourself about proper nutrition historically, or how people used to eat 100, 200 years ago, how people used to eat, what's inside of the food that you're consuming. You've given up part of your free will and your control and freedom over your life to these companies, to the FDA, who you just trust, even though you've never met one of them a day in your life. And who knows, they could not even exist. For all we know, they could just be printing FDA approved. For all we know, there's somebody who's just being paid to put that label. And I believe there's something to the equivalent of that. But you, in your flawed thinking, in your knowledge of good and evil, right, you'll think, oh, you know what, I'm not going to eat this thing that this person made because it's not FDA approved. But this is FDA approved. You've never met the FDA in your life. You go to the hospital, the doctor's saying to you all the time, so I don't like to go to the hospital. They're saying, oh, sorry, ma'am, we realized that you've got a tumor. How do you know? How do you actually know so many of these things? How do you know they haven't faked your scans? How do they know when they're prescribing you with this, that, and the third, that you actually need those things? Or maybe, is it good for their business? Or maybe, can you just make a change in your diet? How about that? Yeah, so that's why I don't like to go to hospital, because I don't want to be diagnosed with something. I'll figure it out. Do you know how many of my own remedies I have for things in life, like when I'm sick and stuff? I go to nature. I go to the Lord's pharmacy, nature, and I find my solutions in there. Not out there outsourcing in the world for the world's whatever, version of all these products. And then you have like 100,000 supplements you're taking, and you didn't think that maybe your diet might be an area to readdress. Maybe you do. And again, like I said, that doctor, you've never seen that doctor's credentials. You just walked there and you've trusted that whoever put them in that place has put them there because of what they do. Same with school. Who says that the school system makes sense? You're just trusting that because it's just been done and it's just been doing, we're just gonna go ahead with go with the flow. I've had another parent now who wants to homeschool for a while. We pulled their kid out of school, by the way, again. This is what I'm talking about. So these are the things I'm also thinking about in the midst of all of my very many issues. Is I've realized that I am very much a disruptor of the room, and it's unfortunate. As I said, I know too much and it's a lot of work. And so if I'm really gonna like speak up more about the things that I know, and if I'm really gonna like truly allow myself to love myself enough to be myself fully, I have to be so aware that I'm like coming for everything. I'm like coming for every industry. I'm ready to bulldoze everything. I'm really ready. I'm ready to start asking tough questions and whatnot and what have you. But I know the consequences of that, the uncomfortability, the fighting with people, you know, to get that way of thinking. Like, this is what I got sick about with my job. Like, you know, working with the kids, I love them dearly. And the older they get, and I realized it's actually quite bad. So my favorite age group to work with kids is like 11, like in terms of teaching, because they're old enough that they can do other stuff now than just the basics. But then they're young enough that they haven't been well programmed. Getting kids when they're 16, their programming is heavy. So I'm trying to get them to do things, right? And I'm having to like fight through this whole infrastructure of programming in their mind. And I'm having to take it down piece by piece just to get back to factory settings, right? Before we can really see any progress. And that's what I'm scared of having to do in society, because I find it exhausting, especially doing it by myself, because it's like, I need people to rise up, basically is what I'm saying. I need more people to rise up than the ones who are out there. I need people to start realizing, like, open your eyes. There's a lot of truth seekers, there's a lot of people doing a lot of things, but we're not even dealing with things on a spiritual level. Historically, we've always dealt with things on a spiritual level, always. Throughout all of history, all the communities around the world, you know, would be doing things to the gods for fertility, for rain, for whatever, all throughout all of history. All these empires, all these things that we talk about, yeah, throughout history, people were believers in the things of the spiritual world. And now all of a sudden, we as a society are now like, oh, we don't believe because we're smarter. We're so much smarter. And it's like, you're so much more stupid, actually. They appreciated that this isn't a battle of the humans. This isn't the battle of good and evil. This is the battle of the gods that we're living in. We're living in the battle of the gods. And because we don't even see the gods anymore, we don't believe in them, that's where our real issues are. So that's where my problem is with a lot of things that people say, even the people who are trying to do the work. I'm like, we got to go deeper than what you're talking about right now. No, I don't believe. I'm going to talk separately about, do I believe that people are born wicked? And I don't. We got to go deeper with these issues, because we keep trying to just slap a band-aid on the wound without addressing the wound itself and finding the symptoms. And that's why I'm saying to you that all the devil had to do, it was the best plan in history. Come between Adam and Eve, come between humanity and God, come between man and woman. That's all he had to do. That's all he had to do to let us cascade all this way. It was a spiritual thing. It was a very spiritual moment, because the spiritual moment of the selfishness of everybody in the room. The devil, who selfishly, because he didn't get his way, because he was jealous, wants to mess with God's precious creation. You know, man, who should have put God first, chose the woman selfishly, right? Eve chose herself selfishly. Everybody, guess what? I solved the equation. So I'm saying, and so even just knowing everything I know it makes me so miserable, because I'm just like, wow, society is broken and lost, and we've just normalized such a low standard of living. We've normalized that we have to do all of these doctor's appointments. I'm like, why am I going to the doctor for what? To check what? I'm fine. I'll become in tune with my own body. I'll become in tune with my own body, and I will learn how I can best, you know, help myself. Now, obviously, when it comes to things like, you know, if your leg is falling off, this is a different story, you guys, okay? I'm talking about with other things. So, yeah, I think we'll just leave that there. I didn't know where this video was going, but I actually quite like it, so I'm going to leave it there. Henceforth, so this is why I'm feeling miserable, everyone. I'm miserable because I solved the equation. I'm miserable because I solved the equation of where we went wrong, And then I realized that it is so far into so many things, onto so many levels, and the whole of society is just like following blindly, utilizing their free will, like allowing their free will to be puppeted, because you don't realize that the strings come from the spiritual world, and therefore you can't even see them. Ain't that scary? Yeah. Anyway, if life's a game, it's pay to win. Oh, that felt good to get off my chest. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one.